Exactly 1 year ago, Hamas orchestrated one of the deadliest attacks on Israel, firing thousands of rockets and subsequently breaching the Gaza border. During the onslaught, Hamas terrorists attacked neighborhoods and went on a rampage at a music festival, killing as many as 1,200 Israelis, injuring hundreds of others and taking hostage over 250 people, of which 101 people await release. 42,000 Palestinians have been killed in the past 1 year. The damage to human life is difficult to digest. Unfortunately, nothing has improved in the past 365 days. The situation is deteriorating minute by minute, and regional conflict risks spiraling with Iran's 180 ballistic missile attack. The country claims that this was a revenge attack for the killing of Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. Well, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it abundantly clear that this decision was a big mistake. Israel has conducted sporadic attacks in Lebanon. Not only that, Hezbollah has launched almost 130 projectiles on Israel's third largest city, Haifa. Thousands of pro-Palestine demonstrators across the world, including Jakarta, Washington and New York, have taken to the streets in the wake of the deadly attacks on October 7th. Joining us at this point of time is Tal Hurtuv, tour guide and survivor of Palestinian Mashhad attack. We're also being joined by Jacqueline Solomon, Yavne, Israel, originally from India, living in Israel for the past 27 years. Thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us on NewsX. I'm going to start this conversation by roping in Tal Hurtuv into the conversation. Now, a year has elapsed since Hamas attacked Israel. You yourself are a survivor. What has it been like in the past 12 years? And if you could also tell us about the incident, in fact, the harrowing incident that you had to face.
Yes, well, once again, I'd like to thank you for having me on. As Israel finds herself more and more isolated, it's hard for Israelis to actually get any airtime. So you've been proved to be a great friend of us, and I'm very grateful. The terror attack I went through happened 12 years ago when I was working as a tour guide, and I was guiding a Christian American lady, a tourist, in the state of Israel on a nature trail in the daytime, and two Palestinians pounced on us from behind a tree, and they held us both with big knives, serrated knives, machetes, and they held us like this for half an hour. And then they stole my bag, and they're looking through my bag and they see my Israeli ID, so they assume my Christian friend is also Jewish, which is a wrong assumption. And then after half an hour, they tie our hands behind our back with my shoelaces, they gag us, and they separate us by about 2 meters, and they push us on our knees, and then they shout the Islamic creed, Allahu Akbar, and they start stabbing. Now I fell to the ground. Remember, I'm gagged and bound, and I'm on my side, and he's if I can demonstrate, he's plunging this knife into me. It's a foot long, and again and again and again, and I realized that the only chance I have to survive is to play dead. So I kept my eyes open, because that's how people die. And in doing so, 2 meters before me on the ground, I watched my Christian friend being hacked up by the other Palestinian terrorist. Now they believe we're both dead. They leave. Actually, they come back and they turn me over and they stab me just above the heart, which missed my heart by 4 millimeters. They leave again. They think I'm dead. I realize I'm going to be dead very soon, but I wanted to try and get up and just die nearer where I parked the car so the police could find my body. And I managed to stand, and I'll tell you my injuries. I had 30 broken bones. I had bones splintered in my lungs and diaphragm. I had multiple broken ribs sticking out of me. I had a collapsed lung, a dislocated shoulder, a crushed sternum, a broken shoulder blade. And in that state, dying, I walked through the forest for nearly a mile, and I got to a family, and they called the police and the ambulance and helicopters, and I get to, I'm here today. Thanks very much also to a Muslim Israeli surgeon who saved my life. And the end of this the end of that particular chapter in my story is that during the altercation I had with one of the terrorists, I had a very small penknife for peeling apples, and I managed just to stab him very, very lightly, and from his blood on my sleeve, because I was drenched in blood, but his blood on my sleeve from where I stabbed him, the police were able to arrest them very, very quickly, and they confessed also in interrogation to murdering another Israeli woman 10 months previously. Now that meant I was in court with them, and I tell you, one of the most astounding things, we're talking about 2010, and the judge says to them, well, why did you murder an American Christian? And they smiled and they giggled and they said, oh, we thought she was Jewish, and that's it. I mean, so my recovery has been physically, it's been very long. Psychologically, it's been even longer. But with that, what happened to Israel a year ago, I've got that unwanted experience, if you like, or unwanted wisdom of 13 years that also gives me great hope that Israel will get through this and will be stronger. Just like I am. I mean, I'm weaker in some ways, right? This kind of thing breaks you. But it also, it's a mosaic. You have to pick up the pieces and you stick the pieces together, and actually that's much stronger than it was before. I mean, I've learned and I've gained different strengths, and I've lost a lot too. I mean, if you talk about losses, then it's the loss of a friend, it's the loss of my health, it's the loss of hope for a long life due to deteriorating health. It's a loss of routine, a loss of sleep, a loss of just having fun, all these kind of things. But there's gains here too. I mean what I say what I mean. I've been able to reprioritize what's important in life, and I've also learning that, if we spend too long on the past, we're going to feel very depressed, and if we worry too much about the future, we're going to have too much anxiety. So with all of this, what happened, it's also in some strange way given me a real boost and an enhancement to life, which I think is a message for every single human being.
Right, absolutely, Tal. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that experience. That really does, just hearing it sounds like a lot, and you've had to live it. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that experience. I'm going to rope you into the conversation in just a moment, but in the meantime, I'd like to rope in Jacqueline Solomon into the conversation. Now, Jacqueline, what has it been like the past 12 years? You're originally from India. You moved to Israel 27 years ago. What was it like? What have the last 12 months been like?
Hi, once again, thank you very much for having me. Tal, it is a horrifying experience that you've been through. Really, my heart goes out to you, just like all the other Israelis, that whatever we are going through, last 12 months, well, I have to tell you, from 7th of October 2023, 6:29 a.m., time has stopped for us completely. I don't think any of the Israelis have slept a good night's sleep since then. We are worried about our citizens. We are very much worried about our hostages, which are still there. We don't know how many of them are alive. And we are worried about the constant attacks that we are facing all the time from 7 different countries of the world. It's not easy living like this. At the same time, unfortunately, we are also getting used to this situation and trying to balance out our life within and during these attacks as well. Our children are used to these sirens. They know exactly where to go when the sirens go on, no matter where they are, if they are in schools, if they are out in the malls, if they are in the play garden or at home. It's a dire situation over here, and we hope to achieve for peace as soon as possible. We hope that the world gains some kind of wisdom and comes to peace as soon as possible with this situation all around the world and have a peaceful peaceful world around us. That's my real wish today on the 7th of October. And we get our hostages back, the most important thing. We pray for the return of the hostages, and we remember all the victims of the 7th of October. We have 726 soldiers as of today died in 1 year. That is a qualifying amount of people as well. The soldiers that have given their life for the nation. And every day we are hearing one or two, and all of them so young, 19 to 20, 21-year-old soldiers that are dying every day. It's really sad to live a life like that, where we see all this day in and day out.
Right, absolutely. Tal, I'd like to rope you into the conversation as we speak. And in the last 365 days, there are 101 hostages that have not been released. We don't know what conditions they're in. What is your appeal, to the government and to the world, in fact, regarding these 101 hostages?
Well, just to hear Jacqueline speak, that was very profound. When she said, "Oh, my children know exactly what to do." What a perverse reality that children have to get used to this. I think one thing worth noting is that the hostages, we have 29 people from Thailand hostage. Some, of course, have been murdered in captivity. We have someone from the Philippines. We have dual citizens from France, America, Britain, Canada. And the governments of the world don't seem at all interested in their citizens who are kidnapped or under captivity. And before I go on to that, I think also sometimes it's hard to relate to these statistics. Right now, I've noticed that you guys are always very accurate about the figures you put out. I mean, I don't know who your researchers are, but really very well done, and it's very commendable. But if I take the figures of what happened on October the 7th 1 year ago, and we'll put it in Indian terms, all right? So India's got a population of 1.4, I checked it all out, billion, and we have 9.5 million. So that means in Indian terms, on October the 7th, we had 1,191 people murdered. And if that was India, on one day, you would have had 178,650 people murdered. You rightly said 251 people kidnapped. And in Indian terms, that would be 37,901 people kidnapped. Physically injured on that day. Physically, on that day alone, we had 4,834. If we put that in Indian terms, in one day, you would have had 72,993 people injured. Now, that doesn't account, Jacqueline said it so right, it doesn't account for the continuous amount of soldiers killed in battle or civilians who've been killed since by rockets. By the way, we've had nearly 27,000 rockets and missiles sent from the likes of Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Iran. We have a war on every front, and of course, while all of this is going on, we have the enemy within. We have people in Judea and Samaria, half an hour before Iran sends these ballistic missiles, they shoot innocent people on a street in Tel Aviv. So Israel is with it being attacked from within and attacked from without. So to me, to answer the question about your hostages, until these governments who have hostages in Gaza actually can recognize that this assault on Israel is actually a fight for our very existence and for the existence of these dual nationals in Hamas captivity, I don't know what's going to happen to the hostages. And of course, it's very easy, much easier for us to, let's say, take care of Hezbollah, right? I mean, we're bombing Lebanese Hezbollah outposts and weapon storages. We can't do that so brazenly, if that's the right choice of the word, because in Gaza, we still want to rescue these hostages. And since October the 7th, no matter the joy, when we managed to get, so we rescued some hostages, there was a deal at one point, we managed to kill several of their leaders, and that brings a certain amount of gratification. But ever since 7th of October, even in our most joyful events like weddings or circumcisions, there's a tear in the eye, there's a sadness, and there's an isolation, because what we've seen from these Western governments, especially in the last year, is an escalation against Israel, rhetoric that Israel is committing genocide. That is the escalation that we should be worried about. And you rightly use the word de-escalation in the very beginning of this broadcast, and you're so spot on, because if you think that we've had over 13,000 rockets from Gaza, this morning we had 4. So you're absolutely right, we have a de-escalation in that conflict due to Israel's sense of justice.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.